A glimpse of what's coming. Pampanga River, Bulacan Airport, Laguna Lake, Wawa Dam, one system, one future. Most Filipinos see rivers, lakes, and dams as isolated topics. They treat the Pampanga River as a flood problem, the Bulacan Airport as an engineering issue, Laguna Lake as a fishery, and Wawa Dam as just another water source. But the truth is far bigger than that. These four elements form one interconnected hydrological system, and the stability of Metro Manila in the next 30 years depends on how wisely or how poorly we manage them together. My own perspective began not in a classroom, but in the cockpit of a boat. For 5 years, while managing the country's only lubricating base oil refinery in Pilila, Rizal, I crossed Laguna Lake nearly 100 times each year, about 500 crossings in total. I saw the lake in its natural rhythm, its clean stretches, its wind-driven waves, its quiet mornings. And I saw how slowly fish pens multiplied until they swallowed almost the entire lake, suffocating circulation, trapping waste, and destroying its ecological balance. Laguna Lake is now a major source of fresh water for Metro Manila. That alone should alarm us. A lake that functions as a fish factory, sewage sink, flood basin, and water reservoir cannot survive for long. Siltation is rising. Water is becoming harder and more expensive to treat. The lake is becoming shallower, and yet millions depend on it. This realization brought my gaze northward to the Pampanga River and the massive international airport being built in Bulacan. I remember the late 60s when we could send a fuel barge all the way to Apalit, Pampanga because the river was still deep. Today, decades of siltation have reduced its flow capacity dramatically. A river that cannot drain properly forces water sideways into floodplains, into towns, and, unfortunately, into the very area where the new airport stands. Protecting that airport will require tens of billions in dredging, levees, spillways, and pumping stations. Not once, but continuously for decades. This is not an opinion, it is hydrology. Meanwhile, Wawa Dam is being developed as a new water source. It will help, yes, but it cannot replace Angad and Laguna Lake. It reduces the pressure on the system, yet it cannot solve the underlying problems: watershed degradation, siltation, overpopulation, and poor land management. Here is the glimpse of the future if we do nothing: worsening floods in Bulacan, rising water treatment costs, Laguna Lake nearing ecological collapse, Metro Manila facing periodic water shortages by 2035, and by 2050, a region struggling to balance flood security and water security simultaneously. This is not fear-mongering, it is simply the natural endpoint of trends we already see. And yet this glimpse is only a small slice of a much larger pie. The issues of siltation, flooding, and water security are deeply connected to other forces: population pressure, illegal settlements, denuded mountains, outdated drainage systems, land subsidence, and the unchecked spread of industry and housing in floodplains. Each of these is a chapter of its own, deserving careful study and honest discussion. What I have presented here is merely the opening frame. The deeper layers of the problem and the real solutions will require future conversations, wider perspectives, and a long-term view that goes beyond one river, one lake, or one dam. If even a fraction of what was stolen through corruption had been invested here, this crisis would never have reached our doorstep, and the future we now fear could have been the future we already enjoyed.